Okay, so this one time in New York City, I'm on the street. Looking for a food vendor that had been there the night before but wasn't there any longer. There's this guy selling bus rides, like bus tours. Get on the bus, you tour. He's a foreign gentleman. I'm not exactly sure where. My guess would be European, Eastern European of some sort. That would be my guess. Apparently that's a good guess when trying to guess origins of people. He goes, "Would you like bus tour?" I said, "No, sir." And he goes, basically trying to set me up what a great tour. And I go, no, thank you, sir." And he goes, "I guess where you're from, you take the bus tour." I said, "No, thank you, sir." And I think he said something to the gist of, "I guess where you're from, you take the bus tour at a discounted rate." And "No, thank you, sir." And he says, "You are, I forget where." And I said, "No, sir." And then it come down to, "You are Eastern European." I said, "No, sir." He said, "You are Armenian." I said, "No, sir." "You sure you're not Armenian?" "No, sir, I'm not Armenian." "You are Hungarian?" "No, sir, I'm Kentuckian." He looks at me very confused and he goes, "Greek?" And I said, "Yes, Greece, from the mountains." We're all different from different areas and different places of the world, obviously, but New York was a melting pot. I do get to travel from time to time, and something I notice is I love those travels, and I like to talk about them. So I'm going to do a lot of little mini-casts about places I get to go, places I've been, and, tell you a little bit about those cities. They all won't always have a story like the one I just told you, but they'll at least give you a glimpse of what I saw, what I thought of the city. New York City is one of those weird places that it's a real place, but it's a fictitious place too. And that's not to say that anywhere you hear things about it, but New York City, it's on TV, it's in movies, it's in literature. New York City's in songs. New York City, it holds a place in the physical world, but it also holds a place in our imaginations, and some people's dreams, and some people's hopes, and some people's fears. The New York of the 1970s, with the violence and the crime, in a lot of ways, to a lot of people, was a holdover. It still is all those things in New York City. Even though they've never been or they've never experienced it, it's all those things. To me, before I went, New York was this amazing melting pot. It was this huge, massive collection of different people from different areas, but it was also rude, mean, cruel people, and it was also dirty, filthy streets, and it was also super dangerous, and it was also dingy, and it was all these negatives that I'd seen and heard or had projected onto that city throughout all these years. And even people I'd known that had went there had reinforced it, My daughter had went. She'd went twice. And she had a different perspective on it. And it got me curious. And I thought, oh man, I've always wanted to go. My wife wants to go. My daughter wants to go back. She really wants us to go with her. My son hates to go anywhere outside the couch, so, he's not going to be down, but, we should all go. So we take the plunge and we go. We drive up. We hit some snow in Maryland. We were going to drive so far, first night, sleep. We didn't make quite as far as we wanted. We hit some snow in Maryland. As you go through West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and into that area, I always used to say I'm from the mountains, from Eastern Kentucky. I'm not. I'm from hills. Those people are from mountains. massive mountains with high elevations that you actually drive over, and when you get to the top, there can be nothing on the bottom and a lot of snow on top. And that's what we hit, was a lot of snow on top. We get up the next morning and drove on into New York, and I've never been west. And this trip to New York actually made me want to do that more than anything. I thought the closer I get to New York, I don't know what I thought. In a way, I know I expected something different, but it all looked the same. These residential area outside of Charleston, this lower income area, looks like the lower income areas in Breathitt County that look like the lower income areas in eastern Kentucky, that look like the lower income areas I've been into outside of Cincinnati. And these wooded areas in Kentucky look like these wooded areas in Ohio, that look like these wooded areas in Indiana, that look like these wooded areas in Pennsylvania, that look like these wooded areas in West Virginia, that look like these wooded areas in Virginia and South Carolina and North Carolina. The beach, it's the only thing I've ever seen that's different. And even the closer I got to New York, the more everything looked the same. And the more my excitement kind of waned, and I thought, I want to go west. I want to see a desert. I want to see something, but I want to see something that looks different. And as I come into the outskirts of New Jersey and coming into the outskirts of cities, it looked like Louisville, and it looked like Lexington, and it looked like everything I'd seen up to that point, except for Philly, that was a little bit bigger. I don't see anything. Then the New York City skyline comes out. And it's different. It's real different. Then you drive down into the city in between those buildings, and it's different. It's real different. I was seeing something different. I was excited. I was scared. I was worried. We get to the hotel, which was an issue in itself. But we get there, and we get up to the room, and I can see it on my wife's face. My wife is nervous. Like, she doesn't want to leave the hotel. Like, she's overwhelmed. She's anxious. I'm a little anxious. I want to leave the hotel. I just don't want to take my wife and kids with me. But we get out and go to look. We get in Times Square, and here it is, the shrine to commercialism, all the lights and the stores and just, and it's wonderful. And it shouldn't be, but it's wonderful. I don't know why. The lights and the neon and the glow, and it's because I don't see it every day. I have nature around me most of the time. So to get to see this, it's different for me. It's a different feel. It's a different reaction. It's a different reality. It doesn't feel real. At night, Times Square glows like it's daytime. There's people everywhere. But these people aren't rude. And these people aren't mean. These people are nice. And they're friendly. They're way too caught up in what they're doing. They're nice and they're friendly. And Times Square is clean, and Tribeca looked clean, and everywhere I went looked clean. There was a stinky subway here and there, and there was things of that nature. There were homeless people, and that was hard because it was extremely cold. But all these preconceived notions I had, the reality of the place didn't reflect that. Now, somebody I like a lot, I have a lot of respect for as a person, said that it used to not be that way. That before 9/11, people were rude and they were mean. She lived up there for a while. She said 9/11 really changed people. It's a shame that it took that. But I'm glad that is the New York I got to experience. The New York that that had been changed. And it's fascinating. The architecture is absolutely amazing and beautiful. I mean, it's ridiculous, and I'm not an architectural person. I mean, it's not something that's ever truly grasped me in the past. I mean, nothing that's just took hold of me. I mean, I love the architecture and the dilapidated buildings and the ruins of coal towns in eastern Kentucky. But that's because of a personal attachment, I guess, to that area. But this was something else. The New York Library and these churches and the big train or subway station. It was unreal. Like a 13-year-old child, I went from spot to spot where Ghostbusters had been recorded or been filmed, and tried to reshoot opening scenes and take pictures, and I don't regret a moment of that. While my family, my wife and daughter, were getting ready in the mornings, I would get on the train and the subway and just go. I interacted with people and seeing people. It was an amazing trip. It was an amazing place. I enjoyed the difference in cuisine to what little bit we got to experience it. The pace of life, all these things. The only thing about New York was some people seemed like they were just existing. They were walking 1,000 miles an hour as hard and fast as they could go to get on trains, heads down, facing phone, sleeping on trains, not interacting, not looking up like I was and looking at the buildings because they seen it every day. They had got to a point to where they took for granted the beauty around them, but they also were so involved in whatever it was that they were doing electronically and work-wise, and they were so into where they were going that they weren't having the opportunity of enjoying where they were at. That's tragic. That is tragic. But it's part of that culture. And as an outsider getting to see it, it was an amazing thing. I was enthralled by it. The Statue of Liberty, even from a distance, brought a feeling to you. A feeling of grandness and greatness. Like I said, the buildings, not just the ones that towered above you, but the historical buildings, the old buildings, the beauty in these buildings was ridiculous. I mean, it was so amazing. The street art and just everything. The subway felt unique to me. It felt different to me. It was a different sense of existence there. Everything about it. Now, with time, that would fade, you know. And I mean, we're going back. We didn't get to see half of what we wanted to see. I didn't see Central Park. We didn't see Madison Square Garden. You know, there's things we missed that we wanted to see. The Met. But we were so enamored with what we did see. To just wander and look and be exposed to the beauty of that city. There is a feeling about that city. And I've never felt that anywhere else. I felt different, unique things in other places, but I've never felt what I felt in New York City anywhere else. That's to say I've never felt what I felt in Philly anywhere else, or, you know. But it was an amazing experience, and again, it's something that I'm glad I got to do. I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to do, and it's definitely something that I would redo again. We didn't get to experience everything, obviously. I've kind of touched on what we did and didn't experience, but I feel that we got to have a pretty wide spectrum of experience as far as especially myself. I went different ways, looked at different things. I've got to get a feel for the city. Now I would just like to go more in depth. Traffic's different. The way traffic moves and pulses, the constant honking of the horns. That first day was a noise adjustment, an attitude adjustment, a thought process adjustment. It was just 3 days. By the third day, I found myself walking faster, kind of walking with a purpose, but never to the point that I seen the local people doing it. To a point to where I thought that they were just trying to power through. It's not to say that they didn't enjoy where they were living, but they just didn't seem present in that moment. I always go back to going up and down the escalator. I would see people running up an escalator that's going up instead of just riding it. And I would often have to move out of the way and let people by, because they were in such a hurry they couldn't just ride up. That's kind of sad. But maybe if I lived there long enough, I would do that. And maybe it's because there's so much to do. They're just in a hurry to get somewhere and experience something that I'm not going to. And I'm just wasting my time taking in too much of everything else. And I don't know. There's no way to know. I'd like to know. I'd like to live there 2 or 3 years and find out. But there'll be another episode of this next time we go. But I'm going to do a series of these. Like I said, just little short mini cast about different things. And I don't know. If you like them, let me know. Email's authorjperk@gmail.com. Yeah. Thanks for listening.